The Washington Post has just released what it can be potentially a game-changing report and or article that includes leaked data or leaked presentation slides of research and reports from the CDC that can, again, be potentially a game changer in this war that we're fighting, a war for our rights, our minds, and our health and well-being, and just for our civilization. Although for those who rely solely on the mainstream media, you probably aren't going to hear this, and your world probably won't change, and you won't notice the wool being put over your eyes or the carpet being pulled right from underneath your feet, as the game has technically changed, regardless of those who have just gone along with the flow, gotten a jab, and did their part based upon what they've been told. So I'll continue to put out information that even though the Washington Post put out this article, they can claim they talked about it, but best believe they're going to bury it or bury the lead on their site and in their paper. But I'm here to discuss it. By the way, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and smash on that subscribe button. YouTube will not kill my voice despite the fact that they nuked my previous channel about 4 weeks ago. I am back, resurrected, to still bring out the truth and or the information and discussions that they were so afraid of us, we the people, having. So let's get into this article. So don't forget to smash on that subscribe button, like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Now let's get into the article. So straight from the Washington Post, this breaking news just was released last night. The title of the article, "The War Has Changed. Internal CDC Document Urges New Messaging. Warns Delta infections likely more severe." So this story just broke last night around 8:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time by Yasmin, Carolyn Johnson, and Joel Achenbach. All right, so the article goes on to say the document is an internal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention slide presentation shared within the CDC and obtained by the Washington Post. Captures the struggle of the nation's top public health agency to persuade the public to embrace vaccination and prevention measures, including mask wearing, as cases surge. The document strikes an urgent note revealing the agency knows it must revamp its public messaging to emphasize vaccinations as the best defense against a variant so contagious that it acts almost like a different novel virus, leaping from target to target as swiftly as Ebola or the common cold. I love the title of the article, by the way, admitting that there is a war going on. Because truth be told, we are in the midst of a war, but is it what they really, as far as the severity of the war, what the war is about, what they're telling us? So this slide, this presentation, it cites a combination of recently obtained, still unpublished data. So I don't know what YouTube is going to say about a video like this, since it technically hasn't been published yet, but from outbreak investigations and outside studies showing that the vaccinated, and this is the most important piece, that the vaccinated individuals infected with the Delta variant may be able to transmit the virus as easily as those who are unvaccinated. Vaccinated people infected with the Delta have a measurable viral load similar to those who are unvaccinated and infected with the variant, i.e., those who still get the jab, and they didn't specify whether or not if it's the AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, but bottom line is they're saying those who get the jab still contain the same amount of the viral load as you would if you don't get the jab. But there's more to it. Now, CDC scientists were alarmed by some of the research that the agency earlier this week significantly changed the guidance for the vaccinated people, even before making the data public. That's a reference to the fact that the CDC made a major reversal of their previous statement and or guidelines as it pertains to those who got the jab, i.e. still requiring masks regardless of whether or not you got the jab or not. That is a reference to the change of pace or about face that they made earlier this week, which seemed contradictory to what they had said earlier, but the statement that we're going with is that the science is ever evolving. But basically, they were alarmed by the fact that whether or not you got the jab, you are still going to end up either transmitting the virus just as easily as you would without it, i.e., so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for a lot of these companies and or government agencies to say, if you don't get the jab, if you choose not to get the jab, we'll make life a living hell by requiring you to get tested regularly, when the fact that this is stating that those who do get the jab also can still get it and transmit it just as easily. So why can't they get tested as regularly as well? Oh, the answer to that is it's a war for power, war for control. They want to only make the life for those who choose not to fall in line and get the jab a living hell, even though it doesn't make any sense because those who do get the jab can still catch it and or transmit it just as easily. So it's definitely going to be a war of, in a separate country, if not world, of those who get the jab versus those who do not get the jab. Now, it does say on one of the slides that states that there's a higher risk among older people. We already knew that the older population are definitely going to be the ones most impacted by this. Another estimates that there are 35,000 symptomatic infections per week amongst 162 million vaccinated Americans, i.e., those who are getting the jab are still coming up with symptoms, but out of 162 million, it's still not a high percentage. In fact, I believe the article goes on to say that they want to push the emphasize the proven efficacy of the vaccines at preventing severe illness and death, while acknowledging milder breakthrough infections may not be as rare after all, and that the vaccinated individuals are transmitting the virus. The agency must move the goalpost of the success in full public view. I'll put the link to this article in the description box below so you can read the full thing. So the long and short of that article basically is this, that this Delta variant is so scary, so new, so transmissible that it can still spread the same viral load regardless of whether or not you get the jab or not. Now they're making the point of stating that if you get the jab, you will be better protected from severe cases, i.e. you can still get it, you can still get some mild symptoms, but you're least likely to be hospitalized and or killed. I always say consult with your doctor before making any medical decision. But the question then becomes, I think they're going to use this as an excuse to bring back the lockdowns, crack down more, and to force more individuals to get the jab. We've already heard that this is the move that I believe the Democratic Party that is becoming more Marxist and communist in their tendencies and or policies. We've heard it, and I did a video on it. Go check it out. We're hearing it from people like virologists like Dr. Leanna Wen, who is a frequent commentator on CNN. God forbid if she is in the ear of a lot of these government officials. We're hearing it from Cuomo and de Blasio up in New York as it pertains to practically forcing individuals to get it. Apparently the voluntary phase is over. They're definitely going to ramp up their programs, their government overreach, and to put their necks on the throats of citizens around the world. We're even hearing talks of possibly bringing a European-style health pass or green pass here to the United States, which will probably be the same as the gold star, showing, all right, these are the individuals that were good and participating with what they're being told, what we're forcing down. And anyone who doesn't have the quote-unquote gold star, all right, you're going to be shipped off in a, I hate to say train to make any comparisons to what happened in Nazi Germany, but we heard Cuomo say himself, we're going to put you in a car and take you to get the jab. So I definitely feel as though they're going to use this to ramp up another lockdown, to destroy the economy, do major psychological damage on our health, because we are social individuals. Social distancing is antithetical to our mental and physical well-being. We need to be around individuals. And once more is when you separate individuals, they can't unite. They can't discuss amongst themselves. They can't push back. And this may also be used as to further ramp up their further control on the information and what you're allowed to see, what you're allowed to hear, because I've also done a video on this topic of government working with social media to control what you know. In fact, Senator Amy Klobuchar has introduced legislation Thursday of last week, a bill, I believe it's called the Health Misinformation Act. It's just been introduced, hasn't been discussed, voted on, or passed yet, and so you definitely need to reach out to your local and or national representatives there in the Senate to push against this bill, but basically making illegal conversations like this that may spread information that goes against the narrative, the government narrative, allowing people to sue those social media companies that don't comply, putting even more pressure on companies like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to go along with the program even more than they already have, and to also penalize other companies like Parler, like Rumble, like Odyssey, that is allowing a free voice and or exchange of information to be had, so long as it's not illegal or directly causing individuals harm. We see them trying to crack down on what is allowed to be discussed, what is allowed to be talked about, what you're allowed to know, because apparently you are not smart enough and or have the capacity to think for yourself, consume massive amounts of information, and interpret for yourself what you believe to be the right decision, and or have those conversations with your medical healthcare professionals. So there is a war going on for your mind and for your body and what you're allowed to know. But I believe that they're going to use this as an excuse to, again, further crack down on their policies to control information, to censor, and also to, again, do further lockdowns to justify more lockdowns come this fall, come this winter. Because they're basically saying this thing could spread regardless of whether or not you have the jab. Again, I like to ask the question though. In my mind, not my mind, but based upon the research I've seen, there's a lot of research that suggests when they do random testings of individuals within an area, and they determine that there are more test positives for the virus than previously known, because a lot of people are already, before there was a jab ever created, you had as much as 88%. Actually, that was the low end bar. On average, 88% of all individuals who were tested and tested positive were asymptomatic. That was long before the jab. That includes those of the demographics of those who are healthy, much like myself, under the age of 50. Now, once you get over the age of 50, obviously asymptomatic cases are going to be much rarer. And also, even if you're under 50, but if you're overweight, obese, and or have other comorbidities like diabetes, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, what have you, CPOD, you're a smoker, you're definitely going to be hit by the respiratory virus extremely hard. But does this affect, on average, the average healthy individual the same without the jab? Doesn't your immune system already provide a high level of protection as is? Most of these studies showed that as much as 88% of the average individual was either going to be asymptomatic, or as much as 95% chance of, at worst, mild symptoms already. But they want to definitely force an agenda of get the jab or else we'll make your life a living hell. But I see this release as potentially being a scapegoat or a reason to say, you know what, we are going to lock this country down again, crack down on your rights of what you're allowed to do. Your body, your choice is no longer going to be an option, and what you're allowed to hear or see or know is also in peril. So we definitely have to make sure that we raise a voice, be aware of what's going on, and push back. You should have the right to make a decision whether or not you want to get the jab or not. My parents both got the jab, and I have no problem with that, especially given their age. They're in their early 60s. They are definitely more at risk. They are not necessarily in the best of shape either. They have struggled with weight, high blood pressure, cholesterol over the years, at least particularly my mom. And so I would definitely recommend the jab to any and all people who want to take it. Definitely consult with your healthcare professional, of course, first. But if you are especially someone who is at risk, definitely recommend it. But I hate the way that things are going, where there are those who don't get the jab and they'll criticize anyone who does choose it. That's not good either, because you should be free to make your own decision and assume your own risk assessment and make the best decision that you feel is best for you, your health, and your family. But on the other end, You also have individuals like Geraldo Rivera who are calling those who don't get the jab selfish and not realizing that, hey, not everyone is at the same health risk. And if it doesn't really matter, according to these studies, whether or not you get the jab or not, in terms of whether or not you're going to transmit the virus and have the same viral load, like, they don't want you really thinking then what really is the point then, especially if you're not at risk. But that's the question I don't feel they want to have. I'll try not to overstep certain boundaries and get flagged by YouTube on this new channel, because I don't want them censoring me again and or nuking said channel. But I'll probably be able to say more on my Odyssey channel. So go ahead and look for that. I'll try to upload this on both sites. That's the conversation. That's the article. Take it for what you want. This is Bruce the Boss. We are at a war for information, mind, body, and soul. Educate yourself. Know what's going on. Peep the game that's actually occurring before it's too late and you realize, oh crap, where did my rights go? How did we get this far? Because as Ralph Smart will always say, if you don't fight for what you love and cherish, like your liberties, freedom, and the ability to think for yourself and consume all sorts of information and interpret for yourself, if you don't stand up and fight for it now, you will have plenty of time to mourn for what you lost. And we're getting to a dangerous stage in human society where we may lose a lot of those freedoms. That's why I find it very necessary for people like myself to raise a voice, to let people know around the world you're not alone in your thoughts and thinking, critical thinking. So please go ahead, subscribe to this channel if you like the content, like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Major changes, major revelation, and a lot on the way. We'll see, especially with inflation coming on, worker shortage, unstable economy, potentially unstable housing market. A lot about to come down the pipe. So prepare yourself. This is Bruce the Boss, and I'm out. Peace.